Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Monday, March 22nd, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And wow, what a big night, Coach. A lot of fun. You put out an awesome lineup on FanDuel. We had a lot of members with terrific returns on investment. We're talking over 10x. Let's celebrate a little bit.
Oh man, it was. Thank you. And it was great. Everything came together. We got to sweat it all out and everybody dove in Discord and just fantastic. I mean, I was so impressed with our entire group because you could see when they posted those winners, they're sticking with the coach talk process. They're making the right contest selections. There wasn't any crazy plays, and that's what we've always said when we get that top, 0.2% lineup, which we had. Those single entry, smaller plays are going to pay off. And seeing stuff like from 50 to 560 and 30 to 600, and then we had a $6,000 and all over the board. Everybody plays at a different rate, but they played the right contest and it really paid off. And I was just, so thrilled that we got to see, almost everybody joining in on the victory. I got to make a real quick mention, Andrew, to this group. And I apologize if I've left anybody out. I just jotted a few of them down real quickly. D's D101, Skyler, Godfather of Gains, Medicated B, Moneybag, Bros 0703, Ken 1992, and Kev Swee. And there was other ones that I'm sure that I did not jot down there, but it really was a true team effort, and we got it done, man. It was great to see. Awesome way to get the week rolling. And the cool thing about it is we have really solid wins 9 of the last 11 days. So we are on a torrid pace right now, sort of the way my man Luke is shooting his threes.
Ooh, man, he couldn't miss yesterday, and I'm glad he couldn't, because then the key players didn't play in the last quarter of Dallas and Portland, and we got our Phoenix LA mini stack to just take off. And that was the beautiful thing about your lineup. You had Chris Paul on one side, and on the Lakers side you had Horton Tucker, Kuzma, and Harrell. And
Right.
they were all out there a lot in the fourth quarter, including Paul, right down to the wire to get that triple-double. And so we just kept shooting up the leaderboard, and it was a lot of fun to root that along with the members. And so what it ended up being was, in these single-entry contests, people taking them down with solo first, second, or top 5, basically at worst. And that's the key that we preach at Coach Talk, is in that contest selection. So it really worked out last night.
It was wonderful, and it really was key. And I talked about a little bit on the pod yesterday, was diving on that Lakers value, with LeBron just going down recently, and we knew those shots and points were going to go somewhere, and luckily we were able to figure out where, and that was a big help. So very, very fun. It was funny though. I got to mention it. It's not crying over spilt milk, because I had an awesome night and everything. But that last play in the game where Taylor Horton Tucker threw the ball inside to that rookie dude McKinney, if he lays that in, I mean, there wasn't anybody on him, Andrew, just lays it in.
Right.
That's a several $1,000 assist from Taylor Horton Tucker,
right,
for me anyway. Yep. But I will not. And McKinney, with the poor dude played like 8 seconds, and he's already on my list with the guys that I hate. So
exactly. Yeah, that was an easy turnaround layup. It wasn't a turnaround jumper. It was a turnaround layup.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
6'10" or whatever the heck he is. How do you miss that? Yep. But anyway, it's fun. It's the roller coaster of DFS is a blast. And yesterday was fun. And I'm so happy for our members. And what a great time to come in and join us. I mean, it's crazy right now how much stuff is going on in sports, with baseball around the corner, the tournament, NCAA tournament, and then basketball. And how about this, Andrew? The trade deadline is Thursday. There's rumors going around like lunacy. I mean, Lonzo Ball's going to get moved, I think. Montrezl Harrell. I mean, John Collins. I've read all kinds of stuff this morning
Aaron
that's going
Gordon
to
asking
shake it
out.
up. Yes. Yep.
Big time moves.
So, the other key reason to jump into our Discord and be part of our community, as these moves happen, there's already going to be DFS slates that are posted, and they're not going to be able to react to that pricing. And man, can you take advantage of that at when those things happen to really get an edge? And we're on that. I mean, we're watching it 24/7, sure for sure.
Plus, with the NCAA tournament going on, I know a lot of people want to watch that, and that's great. We'll handle the rest for you. We'll keep an eye on the NBA and keep the lineups organized so you can watch NCAA, not even pay attention, just come in and plug in player lineups. That's what you can do on
That's right.
FanDuel. Full lineups on FanDuel, every slate, and Yahoo, coach's clipboard on DraftKings. So if you want to join us, just go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, pick up whichever membership you'd like. Or if you're into the sports betting and you can make your first deposit at betus.com.pa, go there, make your deposit for $149, use the promo code CoachTalk, and you're going to get to use that $149 to bet on the games and the props, and you get a free membership with us until June 1st. So jump in now. The spring season is going to be awesome. We're going to keep rolling. So love to have you. After you sign up on BetUS, just let us know on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk, and then we'll send you an email to get you into our Discord. That's where we give out the lineups about 20 minutes before lock.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get this rocking and rolling for 8 games?
Yeah, 8-game slate. Why don't
I
you lead
love
us
it.
off?
Let's do it. Sacramento 17-25 against Cleveland 16-26. Sacramento, how about this? A 4-point favorite on the road. 223.5 is the over-under. And I noticed today, Andrew, the over-unders are all jammed together pretty much. We have one that's a little higher, but most of them are all in the 220s, which, evens the slate up a little bit. I like that. It gives us a little edge, I think.
220
And
City all day.
pardon me?
It's 220 City today.
I know it really is. All right, and as far as a couple of stats here to throw out, the pace, Sacramento is ninth, Cleveland 24th. And then here's the thing that makes you want to roster some guys. 30th, Sacramento just is, I don't think they're ever going to get out of the cellar on defense, and Cleveland's 23rd. So, there's all kinds of possibilities here that you can look at. De'Aaron Fox has been phenomenal. He gets to go against a poor defensive backcourt in Cleveland. The only problem with Fox, and that's why I'm still a little undecided, is it is a quite a bit of a pace down, but he can get it done pretty fast, and he'll increase the pace himself. So Fox is a possibility for me. Halliburton's been solid, Buddy Hield's been tough. They are scoring the basketball, that's for sure. And I think you could look at those three guys and consider them. I lean more towards Fox, but it is a big pay up because he is expensive. On the Cleveland side, for me, a guy that's been super value and playing decent basketball and getting decent minutes is Larry Nance since he returned. Still no Kevin Love. He showed up for one game, I think, is all he played. But, Nance is in play. Garland and Sexton, you got to talk about both of these guys, Andrew, because Garland especially, his price is really a value price. And Sacramento with a, terrible, terrible defense, and it's a big pace-up game for Cleveland. I really, I'm going to go after these guys. In fact, it might be crazy on an 8-game slate, but if I had to turn my roster in right now, I would play Garland and Sexton. I just think that this is going to be a game they can get up and down and really score the basketball. So super hard guard heavy for me in this first game. I would consider Nance possibly, but really the guards on both sides intrigue me here, and I think this can be an old-fashioned shootout, if you will.
Very interesting. Yeah, I guess I'm most interested in the guards as well, especially on that Sacramento side, and I would lean towards Fox. On the Cleveland side, the guards are in a great spot here getting that Sacramento backcourt defense. The only downside for me is it is a back-to-back for Cleveland.
Yeah.
They played heavy minutes against Toronto. Garland played 36, Sexton played 39. Sexton was awesome. He scored 36 points. So he could certainly hit value again. That's just my only hesitation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing about those two guys, though, is they're both babies. They're
Yes, they
like
are.
20.
Right.
So, you would think the young dudes like that, it's not like vets on a back to back. They should be able to go out there. I mean, heck, at that age, I'd play 3 games in a day, multiple days in a row.
Right.
So, I think they could still burn it. And it doesn't seem like, Bickerstaff is worried about that with these young dudes. He's rolling them out there. In fact, sometimes they even grab extra minutes in blowouts just because I think he wants them to grow that continuity.
Oh, yeah, he loves to play them down to the wire, which is great. And like you said, they are cheap. With the bigs, Allen, I like his matchup here against Holmes. He played really well against Toronto. He played 34 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's somebody I think you could look at. And then one value play off the bench, if you wanted to go cheap, would be Chetty Osman. He's 3,700 on FanDuel. He played 24 minutes last night, still getting decent run. And then I do want to mention they have announced they're going to re-sign Quinn Cook. So could he possibly get a few extra minutes on the back-to-back? Maybe. They didn't go with a backup point guard yesterday. Windler was really the kind of the smallest guy, if you will, that they brought off the bench. So there's another factor to consider. But yeah, I could easily come out of here with a pay-up guy like Fox and maybe even one additional player.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about that game. I really do like the guards. I'm not afraid to roster those guys in this scenario. I think it should be a good game too, and one that should fly under the radar.
Yeah, it certainly could. Although it is alone at 7:30, we get a
True.
nice half-hour delay to the slate tonight, and then we move to 8 o'clock with Oklahoma City and Minnesota. This is a 226.5 total on BetUS.com.pa. And Minnesota favored by 3. Oklahoma City coming in on a back-to-back. Close win over Houston to get them to 18 and 24. And we have a decent pace game here. They're 14th. Minnesota is 3rd. And we like the matchup for OKC because Minnesota's defense is 26th. OKC still solid defensively. They're at 12th. Now, these offenses are bad in terms of efficiency. They're both bottom 5 in offense. So kind of a mixed bag there in terms of the profile of the game. And with the injury news, we've got Shea questionable. He sat out the last one with a shoulder issue. And then on the Minnesota side, we have McLaughlin still out, and we have Culver questionable. Now, on the OKC side, if Shea comes back in, that shifts everything around. We had Maladon starting last game. We had Dort really stepping up, taking a bunch of shots. If Shea is playing again, I'm gonna steer away from Maladon and Dort probably, although Dort is very cheap on FanDuel still. We also had Horford take the night off. It was kind of a young guy game as Moses Brown got the start again. So Horford should be back in there. So with those veterans, I think Shea is actually somebody I'll consider. 7,400 on FanDuel. Again, great matchup here against Minnesota and Rubio. So I think he could hit value. And then with the bench guys, I think there is going to be a trickle-down effect here with Shea. Guys like Jerome and Svi, I mean, those are the key guards that have either been starting or coming off the bench, getting more usage. And for me, I would play probably Svi only if I was going to go with a value guy off the bench because, first of all, he's cheaper than Jerome. Jerome's been priced up into the 4K range now. On DraftKings, Svi is only 3,600, and he got 21 minutes, got a double-digit shots. So I think he can still potentially hit value against Minnesota in an up-pace game. So for me, it's either Shea or Svi if I'm going to go anywhere over there. On the Minnesota side, how about Rubio? 2 of the last 3 games, he's had a double-double, over 40 fantasy points, and still a very reasonable price. So he's a guard that you can consider on this slate. I don't think I'll go anywhere else on Minnesota. Edwards has stepped up really well here recently, but he could probably get a bunch of Dort defense here. We like to avoid that. And Towns is pricey. He's got a crafty veteran in Horford who knows how to defend. So, you could get him in there, but I'm not planning to make him my pay up guy. And then the one value guy I want to mention is Jaden McDaniels. Minnesota is a little bit risky, I think, with any peripheral guy. In the last game, they went 11 deep in the
Yeah.
rotation against Phoenix. But when Jaden starts, he got 28 minutes last game. He's very cheap, and he's athletic enough. If guys like Pokashevsky are out there, I think he can do his thing and pick up a variety of stats. But really, it's looking at the guards here for me, Shea and Rubio. That's kind of the key focus for me.
Yeah, no, good take. I did notice one thing. I've been waiting, a week or a week and a half, whatever, here to see at least somewhat of a sample size on, what the plan is with the new Minnesota coach, because he's been in there, a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to me, what I'm seeing is he's radically picking up the pace for this team. He wants them to push the ball. When they've elevated right up the pace charts since he's taken over. So that's allowed Rubio to get more points, Edwards to have some monster games, and Cat as well. So I like the fact that Minnesota is really pushing the basketball, and that puts a few of those guys in play for me. I mean, Rubio should be higher priced with the way he's played fairly consistently now since the new coach took over. And, that's a plus. And I'm with you. I really think Anthony Edwards could have a nice game here, but I do think he will draw Dort defense. And that is a concern. Also, I totally respect Al Horford's defense. I mean, the other day I watched him and he's, as far as if you want to learn defensive post, how to play defense in the post, he's the guy to watch because the position, the denial, his footwork, even for an older guy, man, he knows how to play defense there. And I think that'll be enough to deter at least a little bit of Cat's, high ceiling. So, I do like Rubio and possibly if on a super value play of McDaniels, but maybe GPP wise for sure. I'm not going to waste time on OKC until we know the Shea news. It's very simple. If Shea plays and has no restriction, his shoulder's okay, he's in play for me. Well, no question about it. If he doesn't play, it just changes everything. Then you have to, I think Zvi might be the value play of the day if he's going to get those minutes because he's going to shoot the ball. And like you said, he's massively cheap. Maladon also moves up a big notch. Those are really the two guys that I would zone in on if Shea sits. Not really interested in the bigs for OKC tonight, but we'll wait and see what the Shea news is, and then I think having a little exposure to Minnesota is a good idea.
Excellent. You want to take us to the 8:30 slot?
I will. It is the Charlotte Hornets, man. I am so bummed because I think everybody sort of roots for the Hornets. They've been so bad for so long. It's Michael's team. They're playing great, 500 ball. It looks like they're going to make the playoffs, and now LaMelo has a broken wrist. So that is a huge blow to that team and very disappointing. It does really help DFS-wise because all of a sudden Devontae Graham is back in the hot seat of he's going to get the minutes and shots and assists and stuff that he was really losing out to with LaMelo when LaMelo took over that position a couple of weeks into the season. So, you go right at this game here, San Antonio -5. It's a 224.5 over under. Right square in the middle in pace, 13 and 15. Defensively, Charlotte's only 25th. And I can tell you, LaMelo wasn't helping that. I did the DRPM stuff this weekend, Andrew. I don't know if you caught that, but
Yep.
It was very surprising. LaMelo was very low. I mean, in the bottom, like 1% defensively. And Devontae Graham was in the top 10%. Now, I know that you can't take a ton of stock in all of the DRPM numbers, but they don't lie. I mean, they literally are, based on 100 possessions. So, it should be a little bit of an upgrade defensively for Charlotte as well. It also, except for when they bring Monk in, because he was right down there with LaMelo. So you're going to have to look at rotations here, because my point in telling you all this is I like the San Antonio first string guys. As far as San Antonio guys coming off the bench at guard, it changes. Vice versa. Because if you're going against Graham and Monk and some of the guys, like Monk that's coming off the bench, I think that you can take advantage of that. But the starting guys are the ones that'll face Rozier, Graham, and Biyombo now with Zeller out. So it affects a little bit of the way that I'm going to look at Charlotte's opponents coming up. Along with Ball, by the way, as I just mentioned, Zeller is out. Rozier's probable. I would imagine that he'll play. So, San Antonio, hey, we are always afraid to get popped there. You don't know what to expect. This is a tight spread game that should be interesting. The question is Charlotte going to come out, in a defeatist type mode that they lost their rookie of the year, or are they going to band together and pick up the slack and play hard? So, that's the determination that we have to make. I feel they're going to come out and play hard. They've shown so much spirit and excited play this year. I think they'll come out and give it a good run. So Devontae at that price has to be in consideration here. Terry Rozier is probably a great play because he's shooting the ball well, and he's playing well, and he's going to get more shots and more usage, more chance at assists. We look at him as just a two guard now. We forget that he played point his whole career in college and with the Celtics and where he played. So he's right in the mix, I think, with all of that. I'm not going Biyombo and pay down there. I don't think it's necessary. Plus, he doesn't get enough minutes with PJ taking a big shift there. Not the greatest PJ fan either, and I think he'll get a lot of ownership, but just too inconsistent for me for cash games. He drives me crazy. Hayward, not bad. Price is maybe just a little too high for me. So again, I'm more on the guards here on the Charlotte side. San Antonio is just bizarre, man. I don't know what to expect, but they've had guys out. They have guys that they rested in this last game. A lot of those guys are coming back. I think there's just a big crowded group of players that are going to all share points. And rather than go one by one, I'm just going to say, I'm not interested in Spurs. I only go for Spurs when there's guys sitting out, and you would think Pop would be forced to play, the guys we're going with big minutes, but sometimes that doesn't even work out. So when you can avoid the Spurs, avoid them. And that's what I'm doing today.
I am too. I'm not going to play any Spurs. I'm looking at Charlotte. I mean, massive opportunities here now with LaMelo out and Zeller, and it's going to be a lock-in situation for me with Graham. I think he's going to be fired up and excited about this opportunity, and solid pace game here. So I like Graham. His price is terrific, and I would probably at this point lean towards avoiding Rozier in this one. I think moving forward, if they don't price him up, it's going to be an awesome opportunity. But I'm just a little concerned with him having this hip issue.
Yeah.
And because he's that much more expensive than Graham, I don't think I'll go with both of them. I think I'll just go with Graham. And the other value play I might look at would be Monk. He hasn't been getting 20 minutes for a while with, all the other guys out there.
Right.
But I think he steps up now, and he's minimum price on FanDuel, only 4K on DraftKings. And we know that when Monk gets an extra opportunity, he can absolutely smash. So I like Monk here as well. And Biyombo is a great price. I'm not too thrilled about playing him today. I think Pirtle is solid defensively. So I probably won't go there. I'll just focus on Graham and Monk from this game.
I'm with you.
All right, game 4. We move to 9 o'clock. We have 4 games at 9 Eastern, and the first one is Utah against Chicago. 227.5 total. Utah favored by 9. They're sitting at that 30 win mark, 30-11. And solid pace game here, 15-6. But we do have Utah's number 5 defense. Chicago right in the middle, they're 13th. And good offenses here. Utah third in the league offensively, and Chicago decent, they're 15th. Now, this is a back-to-back for Chicago. They had an easy win against Detroit. The guys didn't have to play heavy minutes. On the Utah side, we do have Gobert questionable with a
Yeah,
hip
that's huge.
issue. And that is huge. You know, he's played all 41 games for Utah this year, so we don't have
Wow.
any sample size of what's going to happen if he's out. I would think that,
Probably all the favors you can eat, right?
yeah, all party favors in Chicago here. I think Derek would probably get the start. You know, he's their reliable veteran, usually gets 17, 18 minutes. And he has gotten over 1 fantasy point per minute this year. So
Yeah.
if he starts, he's the value center that I would look at over Biombo. Chicago has not been good against centers this year.
Oh,
So he's a fine value for me. I also like a couple of the guards in this game. I like Donovan Mitchell getting Levine defense. I think he'll step up here. It's not like we're going to get a bunch of extra shots to go around, though. I also want to mention that Gobert, he only averages 8.49 field goal attempts per game.
it's
So
amazing.
it's
And
not
he's
like,
expensive too. That's
yeah,
what's amazing.
yeah. So it's not like other stars that if they go out, there's this huge trickle down of offensive opportunity.
Right.
It's just more minutes for favors. And I also want to mention who else could get in the mix. How about Ilya Silva,
I
who
know it.
he's on Utah. He hasn't played all season.
Yeah.
Do they finally get him out there today? I would think that they would if they're ever
Yeah.
going to play him. He's minimum price on both sites. I don't think I'm going to go there because we can just get favors as the starter.
Yeah.
So that's my thought there. I did notice that your boy Clarkson is extra cheap on FanDuel. He's 4,600.
Yeah.
So
He's dropped.
he's always in play at a price like that. On the Chicago side, Satoransky's still cheap on both sites. Levine 8,400 on both sites. I like him. Shooting guards can do well against Utah. And
Right.
he only played 33 minutes last night, so he should be fine. And then Thaddeus Young would be in play if Gobert is out. He's certainly got enough quickness and agility now to get around favors, I think, and score some buckets. So, you know, this could be a somewhat important game for me if Gobert sits. We've got some real value opening up with favors.
I agree, man. If Gobert sits, if Favors plays 25 minutes is what I would think he would play, maybe even 27. At that price with his offensive output, I mean, he'll literally take more shots than Gobert would. If
Yeah.
I would think he'll get 10, 12 shots up minimum, and then get some of the other, peripheral stats too. So Favors, I have no problem playing him as the value guy if Gobert sits. Um, as far as the rest of the players, it's tempting to go with Mitchell versus Levine. I've had some great success with doing that exact type of deal with both Mitchell and Levine because neither one of them is a great defender, and they both can score in massive, massive bunches. I think they're both decent. I lean towards Levine, and I'm so happy. He's like $1,000 cheaper than he was last week. So he now, gets back into that playable. They had just priced him for a while, but I do like both of the big wheels here. But you know what I'm finding my common thread today is it seems like I want to play all the guards and no bigs. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do a little shuffling here because there's just too many good guard plays. But I'm not going to even talk about the 3, 4, 5 position for the Bulls drives me absolutely nuts. I mean, I like Patrick Williams. I like Lauri Markkanen. I like Thaddeus Young. I like Otto Porter Jr. I could keep going, but you just can't get consistency out of any of them. Wendell Carter Jr., all of those guys. So they're all getting big minutes. They're all splitting the time. Way too risky for me in cash. I'm just not even, I like barely even glanced at the bigs with Chicago. I'm just done with it. I will say, though, that if Favors does play, the other reason I like him is Chicago's interior defense has just gone right down the toilet since they basically benched Gafford or sent him to the G League or whatever. He's a good defender, but the group of Young being undersized, and a lot of times it's Markkanen playing center who can't play defend centers, and they're not getting it done. Wendell Carter Jr. gets smoked. So it is good to attack Chicago with a big, and if, and I know it's crazy, and I know it only takes 8 shots a game, but if they do come out and say Gobert's fine, he's playing, no restrictions, I would consider him here just because of that recent bias I have to go against the bigs for Chicago. So
Me too.
Need that news. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. No, I like it.
Yeah, you like it? Okay,
Yeah.
good. So that's really what it comes down to for me. I'd like to push the button on Levine, but right now, unless FanDuel and DraftKings will let me play 7 guards, I'm in a little bit of trouble.
Right.
All right, let's jump to this next one and keep this thing rocking and rolling. Real quickly here, because we're right in the middle of busting through the games. If you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second. It's very, very important for us to get the thumbs up, and we want to get as many subscribers to the channel as we can, and hit the little alert button there to let you know when we're posting podcasts. It's really helpful for us to grow the community. We keep these in front of the paywall 7 days a week. So please take a second to do that. If you're listening to us on audio, I'm happy for you. You don't have to look at our 2 mugs. But also, when if you're listening, take a second when you're done, hit that 5-star, make a quick comment. All of those things, again, they help beat the algorithms and move us up past the ones that dominate the podcast space, like ESPN and Disney and all these. We're literally in competition for listens, so that we want to get our name out there more. So please take a second to do that as well. And again, we'd love to have you join us at dfscoachtalk.com. All right, let's go to this game. We're at Toronto, Houston, correct?
Correct.
All right, we've got both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. Toronto's 8.5-point favorite. It's 222.5. We have 2 solid pace teams here, Toronto 12 and Houston 5, and 2 in the middle of the road defenses in Toronto 16 and Houston 13. But remember, there was a time Houston was 5th for a minute, and now they have plummeted to 13th and continuing to go down. Again, we love getting this podcast out around noon. We try to, wait in the morning. The more news, the better, so we can share this. But one of the downfalls is we don't get that final news that we need to really share with you. And it's all has to do with Oladipo and Wall here both being questionable. And then there's Toronto questions we have to dig through. Siakam only played 25 minutes. We're not sure. If it wasn't foul trouble, he may be an ejection. We don't know. But we're going to look into both sides of this, make sure that we have all of that news, because it affects everything in this game. So don't want to grind out a big amount of time here, but I'll just say if just Wall or just Oladipo are in, I like one of the two for sure. If they're both in, it sort of eliminates them for me. And it really takes guys like Porter and Tate and Wood that I'd like to play, because Wood's been great already. But, all of a sudden they're having, where they had nobody to score, they're going to have a lot of guys to score. So just something we have to keep our eyes on news-wise, because it could end up being a great spot as opposed to a pass spot for me, depending on that news. Toronto has their guns back. That's a good thing, but it's also, a negative for guys like Boucher that we were playing. He barely played in the teens again yesterday. But, Lowry, Van Vliet, Powell, Anunoby, and Siakam, if they put those five out there again, and then Baines at a big, whether they go small or big against Houston, I'm thinking that they may go smaller because Wood is so athletic. They may want to use Siakam to guard him. So I'm afraid of the bigs because they may play him off the court. And both teams who we've targeted because they've been so shorthanded now have a ton of guys to score. And unfortunately, a lot of their salaries haven't corrected back down. Like Norman Powell is way too expensive now because he loses like literally 12, 14% usage with where he was when all those guys were out. So this may be a pass game for me, Andrew, unless we get some news that shifts things around. I just don't feel real comfortable that anybody's going to really have enough usage to be effective.
Yeah, it's a decent chance it'll be a pass for me as well. With Toronto and having everybody out there, they're priced reasonably. And it is a back-to-back for them. Yeah, we think their key guys will still get good minutes, but Houston is such a disaster after their 20th straight loss, and if multiple guys sit again, Toronto could blow them out, and it could be pretty balanced. So it's not like you get extra excited for Toronto with a little bit of news. And
Right.
with Houston, I mean, it could go any which way. If everybody's out there, I probably won't go to Houston at all because they played heavy minutes in a back-to-back. I mean, Christian Wood played 36 minutes.
Yeah.
Is he even going to play tonight? We don't know here at lunchtime.
Yeah. He's coming back from a bad ankle, correct?
Seriously, yeah, we don't know
Yeah.
about Waller Oladipo, and even if one or both of them are out, Porter Jr. is extra expensive for what he's looking at. I mean,
Right.
65 to 7,000. It's not even
Ridiculous.
close to what he was. So it's
Yeah.
not an automatic value play like it was before. So decent chance, no matter what, that this will be a pass game for me.
Yeah, it's a disaster. Did you happen to see Silas' press conference after the last
I did,
game?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, 20 losses in a row. I felt really bad for that guy. I mean, he's a little bit disheveled here at this point, but none of the decisions they've made have made any sense. I mean, I say it over and over again when Dawson and I are watching the games. Why didn't they just keep LeVert? That was a secondary trade when they traded him to Indiana. They could have kept him instead of having Oladipo. I don't know what they makes no sense to me,
I
but
didn't
they're
like that.
paying the price.
And by the way, that reminds me, this team is 30th now in offensive efficiency on the season, and they had a guy named James Harden on their team at the beginning of the season. They've got All-Star Wall, All-Star Oladipo, Young Star Wood. That's not good that they're
It's
30th in
insane.
efficiency. They're
It,
below
yeah,
OKC, Cleveland. I mean, all of these
unreal.
bad teams.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a Rockets fan. I'd be furious. I mean, that game that we watched the other day that led us to victory, Westbrook. God, is Westbrook playing? Oh my God! But watching he and Harden go back and forth, and the fact that it wasn't that long ago they were both in Houston.
Right. Man, things change
Wow.
quickly.
Good Lord.
All right, the next game we have at 9 o'clock, Boston in Memphis. Back to back for Boston. They beat Orlando easily at home yesterday, and it's a 220 total. Memphis actually favored by 2.5. We have
Yeah.
Kemba.
That line surprised me, Andrew.
That surprises me too. We have Kemba out, but everybody else good to go for the Celtics.
Yeah.
And they're motivated. They're 21 and 21. I mean, they need to get back in the winning ways. So now that we talk about that, I kind of like Boston here tonight in terms of the line.
I love them.
Yep.
I can't believe they're an underdog. I mean, I know that hurts for Walker fans, but Boston's better when he's not in there because he's terrible defensively, horrible. And they get to, get Ojale out there extra with Smart and Tatum. I mean, they're a much better defensive team. And I think they may lay one on Memphis tonight.
Yeah, that's what happened the last game. Kemba sat out. Is they moved Smart to the point guard. Ojale started,
Yep.
and that is a tough defensive situation for
You
Memphis's
bet.
backcourt. I mean, they are not going to get any easy baskets against those two. And then you've got the size of Jaylen Brown mixed in there to deal with Dylan Brooks and company, Grayson Allen. So I don't like any of the Memphis guards because of that. I mean, I know Boston is 21st defensively, but like you said, if Kemba's out of that mix, then it's a whole different situation. I like Tatum here. He's the guy that really steps up the most when Kemba is out, and he's also very good on back-to-backs. So I'm not really concerned about that for him. He only played 29 minutes yesterday anyway. So I
Yeah.
think Tatum steps up here. He's a key guy for me on this slate. Jaylen Brown has been playing awesome lately. I mean, he's been more productive than Tatum of late. He scored 34
Yeah.
points yesterday. He could do it, but he's not as good on back-to-backs. So for me, I'm looking at Tatum. Not going to play Ojale as a value guy. He could hit 5 or 6x, but he usually falls short, even if he's starting. The value guy that I would look at for Boston would be Peyton Pritchard. Last time Kemba sat, he got 19 minutes off the bench. How about his stats for the season, Coach? For shooting, he's 45, 41, and 90. He's really getting it
Wow.
done for a young guy. Very impressive. Good price on both sites. So you could throw him in there. Robert Williams a little bit pricey for me, around 6K. Only got 14 minutes last night. He could certainly get more minutes on a back-to-back here and smash that. But I don't think I'll go there. It's Tatum or Pritchard for me. And on Memphis, like I said, I'm not going with any of those wing players because of Boston's defense. I don't want to get involved with their front court either. Bain off the bench, 3,700 on both sites, GPP option, 24 minutes in the last game, but we're not even sure that he'll get that. I mean, Melton only played 10 minutes last game.
Right.
There's no reason that couldn't be flip flopped here, and they switched that. So I just don't like the minutes or the game situation for Memphis here. I'm not going to play any of the Grizzlies.
I've got a question for you. I know you're a Celtics fan, so maybe you can shed some light on this because I think Stevens is an excellent coach, but for some reason to me, it's very, very apparent, and I could be missing it completely, but I don't understand why Robert Williams is not the starting center for the Boston Celtics and plays like 30 minutes a game. He plays great defense. He alters shots. He's a great rebounder, explosive offensively. And Stevens just does not seem to want to really commit to playing him big minutes. What do you think the reason is?
Well, I'm fine with it because Tice and Tristan Thompson, they've been playing the 4 and the 5, obviously, for the majority of the
Right.
season when they're healthy. And I like Tice as a starter because he can hit the 3. And he adds a
Okay.
dimension that Williams does not.
Right.
And Tristan Thompson is I mean, he's solid whenever he's out there defensively, so that makes sense. And then you bring Williams in off the bench, he gets a lesser defender to go against, and he's the only guy out there, and he's more of that athletic that guy that can go get every single rebound while he's out there.
Right.
And he doesn't he doesn't hurt you from the perimeter, but he can just take advantage of that backup big defense and be dominant while he's out there. So I think it makes sense for now at this point in his career where he doesn't have an outside game. Just let him focus on dominating the paint off the bench.
I just think it's a crime to see him play 13, 15 minutes. It's just not enough for a guy with his, ability. And if you watch, they seem to just feed off of his intensity too. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes to. But this will be the fast one. This is our catch-up time game because this is my take the stand game. I am not playing anybody from this game as of right now. Reason being is I think Boston is going to control the game. I'm not calling it a blowout or anything, but I think Boston will control it. Stevens likes to use his bench on back-to-backs, and I don't think he's going to overplay people. I don't think it's going to be a gut and grind down to the wire kind of game. Memphis, again, they're in that share the ball scenario too. And you got guys that'll chip in but never break the slate like Anderson and Brooks on occasion will have a hot shooting night, but I just don't like the game as far as the matchup, the scenario with the double the back-to-back for Boston and I'm thinking Boston can control this game. So that's going to be my Passola game that doesn't make it on my league pass search button tonight.
Well, that's good because there are 4 games at 9 o'clock, so you have to sacrifice a little bit.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to jump into the second to last game, which is Indiana Milwaukee, correct?
Correct.
Indiana 19 and 22 against Milwaukee 27 and 14, but Giannis more than likely will not play. He's doubtful. Slightly affects the game, just a little
Just a
bit.
hair.
Yeah, so I'm going to count him out as of right now. So that's how I did my preparation here with him not playing. And what does this do? Is it going to be Bobby Portis chalk night where everybody plays him? Probably. And you know what? I may eat the chalk. Couple of reasons. He's effective when he's in there. I've always thought Bobby Portis was a talented guy. They'll run a lot of the sets and things that they do for Giannis and everything, and just have Portis in there. I mean, that's usually what happens when you have a decent backup like that. You don't completely change the entire game plan. You just insert somebody into that spot. Now he's not a fraction of Giannis, but he's good enough to. He's a better 3-point shooter than Giannis, and I think he'll knock down some shots. I think this should be a great game. I love the fact that it's Milwaukee by 5.5, 232 is the over under. So the fact they're 5.5 point favorites is interesting without Giannis, but I see this down to the wire kind of game. A couple of guys I like here. I think Karis LeVert. Now I know that it's a back-to-back and he's coming back. So will he be limited? Is the question. But it was incredible to me in this game yesterday. It came down to the wire to go to overtime, and then in overtime, who did they go to? Karis LeVert. So he's been there playing a week and a half, 2 weeks, and he's now the guy they're giving the ball to win the game at the end, when they have guys like Sabonis and Brogdon and et cetera. So it goes to show you his worth, and he's going to get a lot of play for me until his price gets a little bit too out of reach. But I'm going to do a little checking on the beat writers in Indiana and different things just to make sure there's no limitations on LeVert tonight before I consider putting him in there. Other than that, I think it does open the game up a bit for Sabonis with Giannis being out. I think that he's extremely expensive, but I haven't highlighted many bigs. And when push comes to shove, and I go to Sabonis because he is so consistent, so solid, and he will get it done. Miles Turner, price is okay. He's a little bit hit and miss, but he's been very solid. And then on the Milwaukee side, the exciting part is all of that usage from Giannis has to go somewhere. I would say, you're going to see Portis and Middleton owned like wildfire throughout the entire industry. I like Middleton a lot. His price is a little pricey. I'm on the fence with Middleton. I would assume he's going to be one of your 5 coaches clipboard highlighted players. That's my guess for tonight. And I think it's a good play. But Middleton's in consideration for me. Portis is going to be a plug and play. The guy that I'm looking to go to is possibly, you're going to be surprised, man. I like DiVincenzo a little bit here. I think he gets a little extra usage. His price is cheap. He's been consistent. He gets you some of those periphery stats, and he's playing enough that, once they traded Augustine, who was really getting some of his minutes, I think he's the guy that's benefited. So he may be a nice little value add for this game for me.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I've liked LeVert a lot here recently. In my initial build, he doesn't quite make the cut, especially on FanDuel as a shooting guard. I like Graham, the cheaper value play today, and I like some of the pay-up options that we've talked about. Sort of like you said, we like 7 or 8 guards. You can't play all of them, obviously. So,
yeah. Well, he's small forward eligible on DraftKings.
Right. Yeah, I'm just talking about FanDuel specifically.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of the back-to-back for guys like Brogdon and Sabonis. Sabonis is in play for me. He's probably the guy I would look at if I was going to pay up on Indiana.
Yeah.
They eat up minutes, and much better situation for him with Giannis not in the paint.
I would say.
Justin Holiday, got to mention him still on FanDuel at 3,900. That's just ridiculous. I mean, he played over 40 minutes in that overtime game yesterday. He's out there all the time for Indiana.
He is.
He takes a bunch
I
of
can't believe
threes.
how much he plays.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Lamb is really getting pushed to the side. So
Yeah.
could be Sabonis for me or Holiday as a value play, but I'm much more interested in Milwaukee. And I start with Drew Holiday and Middleton here. Like you said, Middleton, I've liked him a lot this season as a mid-tier option on this offense. When Drew Holiday was limited or out, he really had the two-man game going with Giannis, and now without Giannis, he should step up. He hasn't been the key guy lately. It's been Drew and Giannis running the show. Middleton has really taken a hit with usage and shots, but without Giannis, I think they run everything through Drew and Middleton. I think Portis gets big minutes, but I don't think I don't think they're going to give him the ball at the top of the key and say go to work. He'll be out on the wings, or maybe they'll get him in the post. But I think Drew and Middleton will initiate the offense, and those guys will have a lot of good correlation today. I like those guys. I like Drew better than Dante. He's not that much more expensive.
Yeah.
Dante's been priced up a little bit because of his strong recent performances.
Right.
And Portis is an interesting play because, yes, he will be chalky. I'll get him in some of my lineups, probably the cash lineup. Does he make the GPP? Maybe not. There's a guy in the next game who's the same price on FanDuel that we'll get to. But Portis, I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't hit value, assuming he starts and gets Giannis-like minutes. So this
Right.
this will be a pretty key game for me, and it's the only game over 230.
Yep.
And I think Indiana, although it's a back-to-back, they'll have enough left in the tank because of the way that they're in good shape. I mean, let's be honest; those guys play heavy minutes, so I think it'll be a solid game, and I'll have probably three guys or so from this one.
And do you know that Indiana's 3 games below 500 with that loaded squad? They need to win games.
It's hard to believe. Yep,
It
they are
is.
going to be stacked when everybody's healthy.
Yeah, they need to start winning or they're not going to make it.
All right, last game of the night, Coach. The only 10 o'clock Eastern game, the late night
Yeah.
hammer. It's Atlanta against the Clippers.
Yeah.
225.5 total. Clippers favored by 6.5. Big news here. We've got Mr. Trae Young probable with the quad designation, and good old DeAndre Hunter is questionable. He may
Right.
finally get back out there. That will put an end to the Snell fun. He'll probably go back to the bench.
What fun was that?
Yeah, very fun if you didn't play him, and then he took
Exactly.
away 3-pointers from your guys, or if you did, he had one of his down games.
Yeah.
And then with the Clippers, we have Beverly and Ibaka out.
Right.
So how do we break this game down? We've got Zubats stepping up. He's been a great option with Ibaka out, but he's got Capella on the other side. I actually kind of like Capella here, who is inconsistent with his minutes and production, but Zubats not strong defensively. So I like Capella here as a potential pay up, especially if Gobert's out, you decide not to go with Favors, out of the bigs. With the rest of Atlanta, obviously if Trae Young is out, I would look at Rondo, almost bare minimum price, and Bogdanovich. I think he'll get a lot more usage. He got 30 minutes in the last game, and 2 games ago he had that breakout that I was looking for, 23 points and 23 and 6. Still a
Yeah.
good price. So those guys get a huge bump if Trae Young is out. But the other thing again is if Hunter starts, that takes away a little bit from everybody. And then how about Collins? Awesome against the Lakers, but now he's finally priced like John Collins should be priced.
Right. Right. It
8,200 on
took them
FanDuel.
like a month to get there.
Took forever. So I'm going to step aside from Collins and look more at Capella if I'm going with a big. And with the Clippers, like I said, I'm probably not going to go Zubats. Marcus Morris is the guy that I was talking about. He's also 3,700 on
Yeah.
FanDuel. He's been starting over Batum. So there's a GPP pivot from Portis potentially. Paul George and Kawhi. We'll have to wait and see if Hunter's out there, what the defensive matchup is going to be. I would probably lean towards Kawhi being a lot cheaper. But again, he's that shooting guard on FanDuel, right in that same price range as Donovan Mitchell and Levine. So
Right.
you can't play all of them. So, this will be interesting. It's going to be tough because how much news will we have when the slate starts? And, can we plug in a value play like a Rondo or Bogdanovich? Or if we don't know that, do we just avoid this situation entirely? How are you going to handle it?
Well, it's I need the news again, and I hate to say that on the podcast. It's like, well, what the hell, good does that do as coach? But I don't want to give you, a final opinion on something when I don't know what I'm dealing with here. And, I expect, as of right now, I have Trae Young in. I think he'll play. I don't know on DeAndre Hunter. I think he's 50-50. And if he does play, I still think he'll come off the bench because they actually need Tony Snell to guard Paul George and maybe even a little Kawhi. So, I would expect that to be the case there. The concern I have about this game and what I don't like is both teams have a tendency to play the other guys big off the floor. So you've got two teams that use the same strategy. And a lot of times the Clippers will go small, play Morris at the center, and just play it by committee, and Zubac sits. Same thing with Atlanta. Capella loses minutes all the time, which he's a great player, but they go with Collins at center. And again, they do the same thing, play the bigs by committee. So I'm not comfortable with either big here for that reason and for the player rotation. I think that it plays into each other's hands. I think it does make Morris a better value play, though. I think his minutes are safer, his floor's a little safer, and he's playing terrific. The guy I want to mention here too is Gallinari. I mean, no one talks about him much, but he has been fantastic off the bench. I know he's scoring, very scoring relevant in that sense, but doesn't get a lot of the other peripheral stats. But he still makes an impact, and so does Bogdanovich. I think Bogdanovich is getting better and better. But my concern is now, are there enough basketballs to go around, especially with Hunter back? Because he was scoring 18 points a game before he got hurt. So you got about 7 guys now that need the ball, literally, or 6. And that concerns me. So I've got a huge red circle around Atlanta with concern of how that goes. Now, if for some bizarre reason Young does get counted out and Hunter's out, then you have to consider some of these guys, whether it be Collins more than likely, number one, and probably a Bogdanovich or Gallo as a secondary guy. But if they all play, I think there's a lot of sharing to go around. Clippers have some good defenders there. They're not the same without Pat Bev heading it up, which does give Trae Young a little bit of breathing room. So he is in consideration. But again, it's a guard-heavy day, so you can't play them all. On the Clippers side, I have a tendency here to like Morris's value, and I also like Kawhi. I don't have a ton of buy-up guys, and Kawhi just seems like a fine fit here. He has turned it up several notches since the All-Star break. I don't know who got in his ear or what took place exactly, but he came out in the press, and we mentioned this last week, and sort of called out his team that they needed to step it up. And he's been leading by example. So, it's an island game for them. And I think Kawhi's a fantastic pay-up guy that I'd love to have in the holster going into that last game.
Excellent. Well, it's going to be a fun slate, 8 games. We'd love to see you in Discord tonight for our lineups. If you have any questions, reach out to us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can also follow the coach at JOESARVADI. You can find me at Language Olympic. That's it, Coach. You ready to wrap it up?
How about we run it back tonight, just like last night? That would work for me.
I love it. I'm in for that. So let's do it. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate all of your support, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in DFS.